Alright, welcome back. For this part of our lesson, you'll need to download the Common Bird Guide from the Outdoor Learning website before you continue watching. If you can, it might be helpful to print it out. But if not, you can keep the guide open on your computer so you can look at it when you need to. You'll also want to get out a piece of paper and a pencil to write down some things. Okay, let's get started on learning how to look at a bird so we can figure out its name. First off, I think we all know that wild birds don't have names like Bob or Annie or Steve or Karen. When I talk about knowing bird names, I mean the name of a particular species. When it comes to birds, a species is a group of thousands or even millions of individuals that share the same characteristics. In other words, all the birds in a species look alike and mostly have the same size, shape, colors, patterns, and behaviors. Now, there may be differences in appearance between young birds and adults, or between males and females, but all the birds in that species share things in common. And birds of the same species can mate and have baby birds that will eventually grow up to look and behave just like the adults. So why would we want to know the names of bird species? Well, because that's all part of the fun. A bird without a name is just a bird. But if you know what species it is, now it is something much more special. Once you know their name and how to spot them, then you get to discover all the cool things about that species, like where they like to live, or what they like to eat, or what they sound like in the wild. Some birds are really common, but that doesn't make them any less interesting. It just means that you'll have more of a chance to see how they live and what they do. There are other birds that you won't see nearly as often, which makes it even more special when you do see one. But it also means you have to work a little harder to find them. Now, when you first spot a bird that you can get a good look at, you might be tempted to immediately start looking at your bird guide. But if you rush trying to look up a bird in your guidebook and then start making guesses about what you saw, you're probably going to miss seeing some of the important details that you really need to know in order to figure out what kind of bird it really is. When I see a bird, the first thing I do is look at it and try to see as much of it as I can. Then I try to list all the features that I noticed and I can remember. Now, what do I mean by features? Well, I'm looking for details about a bird's appearance, what that bird looks like colors and patterns or sizes and shapes. I also want to try to remember where on the bird I notice a certain color or a pattern. Maybe the bird has a patch of color on just one or two spots on its body. Or maybe it has a special pattern or a stripe on its face. Well, what color is its head? What color is its chest? How about its belly? Or its shoulders? Or its wings? I try to list all the different little things I notice. And whatever I see, I say out loud to myself, quietly, so that I can remember what it is that I'm noticing. Let's do a little activity to see how many features we can notice on some birds that came to my backyard the other day. I'll point out which birds we want to look at in the video, and as soon as you see them, I want you to just start describing everything you notice about the birds out loud. Ready? Okay, here we go. So in this video, we want to pay attention to the features of birds that look like this one here in the yellow circle. Pay attention because there will be more of them in just a few seconds. Try to describe as many things as you notice about the birds out loud while you're watching them. All right, what features did you notice about these birds? Pause the video for a moment and write down 3 things that you think might help you figure out what kind of birds these are. It's okay if you can't remember 3 things. Maybe just write down one of the most memorable things that you noticed about that bird. So what were you able to remember about the bird we just saw? Great. Well, let's look at that video clip again, and I'll describe to you what things I notice about this bird. And let's see if you notice the same things that I do. Well, the first and most obvious thing that I noticed is this bird's black and white head. So that's pretty obvious. And then I noticed that it also has a very gray chest. Oh, and look, he just sang for us too. That's pretty cool. Oh, here we have one a little closer to us, and now we can really see that we have the black and white head. We have a white stripe down the middle, black stripes on either side, and also a black stripe through the eye. I also noticed that it's got an orange beak. There's that gray chest again. I can see that it's sort of brown speckles and stripes on its back. So there's a lot of good things to see here. Okay, so did you notice some of the same features that I did? I'll bet you did. And you probably noticed even more features the second time, didn't you? Being able to notice the important details on a bird is something we call observational skill. It takes time and lots of practice, but I promise your observational skills will get better and better the more you do it. All right, now that we've talked about some of the features we saw in these birds, it's time to take a look at our bird guide. So go ahead and pause the video and open up your bird guide. I want you to look through the list of the birds on the guide and choose the one that looks most like the one we just saw. After you do that, start the video back up and we'll see how you did. Oh hey, you're back. Did you figure out which bird we saw in the video? Yeah, that's right. It is a white-crowned sparrow. This is a common bird to find at a backyard feeder, but they only come down into our area during the winter. By mid-spring, our white-crowned sparrows will start moving back north again or up into the mountains. Some groups of white-crowned sparrows even migrate up into Canada or Alaska for the summer. Now, I wonder if you happen to notice something else on your bird guide when you found the white-crowned sparrow. Did you see the picture of the juvenile white-crowned sparrow? Younger birds, which scientists call juvenile birds, often don't have the exact same colors or patterns as the adults. So you might think you saw two different kinds of birds when you actually were seeing just one kind. In the case of our white-crowned sparrows, we were seeing juveniles and adults. Let's look at that video one more time and see if we notice any juveniles this time. Do you see any? Yeah, that's right. There's a juvenile right there with all the other adults. Now this brings up an important point. Birds of the same species can look different from each other. Very often, males and females look different from one another. Now for white-crowned sparrows, all of the adults look the same, both the males and the females. Only the juveniles look different. Let's take a look at a video of some birds where the males and females look different from each other. I'll point out the birds to pay attention to in the video. Just be sure to practice your observational skills by describing everything you notice about the birds out loud while you're watching the video. Ready? Okay, here we go. So in this video, we are looking for two different birds. The first one we want to watch is this one here. And here is the second one. Remember to say what you notice about each one out loud so you can remember their features. All right, we saw what looked like two different birds in the video, but they're actually the same species. One is a male and one is a female. So what did you notice about the birds you just saw? What features look similar on each bird? And what features look different? Which bird do you think is the male and which one was the female? Pause the video for a moment and write down anything you can remember about the birds you just saw and which one you think is the male and which you think is the female. Restart the video when you're ready. Okay, so what did you notice about these birds? And which one is which? Let's watch that video again and I'll tell you about some of the things that I noticed. So here is the first of our two birds again. I noticed that it has a lot of red on its face and underneath its chin, and a little bit of that same color on its chest down to its belly. I also noticed it has soft brown stripes on its side, a brown colored back, and a thick triangular beak. And here is our other bird. This one doesn't have any of that red color, but I do see those same soft brown stripes on the sides and chest. It has a brown back and thinner brown streaks on its head. It also has that same thick triangular beak. Now that we've practiced our observational skills and remembered some of the features, pause the video again and have a look at your bird guide to see if you can identify what species of bird we were just looking at. So what bird do you think we just saw? If you decided we were looking at house finches, you're right. The male house finches have a red face, a chin, chest, and belly. The female house finches are less flashy looking and don't have any of that red color on them. Both the males and females, though, have brown streaks on their sides, and the females have those same brown streaks on their chest all the way down to their belly. So now that you've learned a little bit about how to look at birds and how to remember some of the features that will help you identify what species they are, it's time for you to practice on your own. After the end of this video, open the What's That Bird activity from our Outdoor Learning website. The activity has several short video clips for you to watch of birds in my backyard. Watch each video and then use your bird guide to correctly identify which bird species you saw. I hope you guys have fun with that activity. Until next time, remember, be mindful, be kind to one another, and get outside.